Good morning and welcome to the Waimea Group operator training video for the DHT105. Okay, we're sitting in the cab of the DHT105. In the cab you'll find a number of manuals. This is a manual for the truck. This should be read cover to cover, and it shows you all the service information, the truck controls, how to drive the truck, etc, etc. This is usually placed up the top here. We then have a manual for the smart truck system. This is a smart truck system. I'll explain the operations of this later on in the video. And mostly important is the operator's manual. Now the operator's manual should stay in the truck at all time. Again, this covers all operations of the unit, including the emergency recovery operation, if you have an incapacitated operator up in a basket, and also the emergency recovery operations if joysticks don't work, etc, etc. Again, I will be covering this later in the video. Okay, it also shows in here your service requirements when they should be undertaken, recommended oils and parts, etc, etc. This, as I said, should stay in the cab at all times. Some details that you have in the cab. On the rear window screen here, you'll see all the compliance for the boom, and this is your liner and your electrical tests. You need to make sure that they're all compliant and in date before you leave the yard. And then your truck should also be serviced, fit for the road, etc. Right, what we'll do now is I'll show you the smart screen, show you the operations of that. Let's explain the smart truck system. First of all, make sure the handbrake is on, the gear lever is in park. I'll turn the ignition on just to explain the smart truck system. To activate, touch screen to begin. The engine's not running at this point, so you'll see that the engine is off, and so the PTO won't engage. But I can switch my beacons on. It goes from red to green. I can switch my work lights on. In the auxiliary screen, this is where you'd have your additional electrical appliances. It could be an inverter or a microwave or a fridge. On your third screen here is more about diagnostics and information on the hour meters. So you have an engine PTO hour meter, tells you 16 hours. A smart PTO if you had a smart PTO system fitted. This one doesn't, and then it has a total combined PTO hours below. You have a diagnostics. This one would be used by an electrician if there was a fault by a vehicle. He'd go into the screen and he could run through these and see where a fault was lying, and then he can go into the control box and see which plug it is and which pin it is by the numbers on the left hand side here. Your final one is settings. This is password protected, so it's only for setup of the a new unit. Okay, I can switch these off. I'm going to start the engine up and just show you the PTO engagement. So now the engine is running. You'll see my system is available. I can put this on. It automatically puts the beacons on. If you're working at night time in a residential area, you can switch these off just for removing light pollution. Your RPM will go up to around about 850, and you'll see your PTO light on the dash is illuminated, saying that the PTO is engaged. I'll show you the override, if just in case this screen is broken or you can't access the screen. There is an override button located just on the control panel there, which I shall show you right now. So on the passenger side, where the footwell is, there is an override button for the PTO. So with the engine running, this is an automatic vehicle, so there's no need for clutch. You reach underneath here and I'll press this button. You'll see that it illuminates red, and now the PTO is engaged, the engine RPM has gone up, and this is now activated. I must note that if you activate it from underneath this panel here, you must deactivate it, because the smart system on the screen will not switch it off. Right, before you leave the yard, you should carry out a pre-check inspection. I always like to start as I climb out of the cab. So we're going to check the tyre condition, make sure the tread is legal, no bulges in the tyre, and look for any damage to the wheel rim. We've also got wheel nut indicators on here. As long as these are in line, that indicates that the wheel nuts are tight. If one was out of line, you'd have the wheel nuts checked. Coming around here, check that you've got no damage to your beacons on top of the outriggers, and you've got all these critical bolts here, which we've very nicely blued. If these are broken or misaligned, that means that they are loose. Okay, we have them there on the chassis mounts as well. You're going to check your decals, make sure they're not damaged, and you can read them. You've got decals on the front here all over the machine. Actually, they all should be able to be read. We'll come back to this area later on in the video, but this is an override area. You're going to check your oil level, make sure your oil level is at the high level, and also check your level bubble, make sure that is not broken or damaged in any way. You have a fuel tank under there, make sure there's no oil leaks, hydraulic leaks or anything around this foot area or damage on the foot. Make sure your deck is nice and clear, no loose tools or object which could roll onto the road as you're driving. You've got an oil cooler around here, make sure there's no damage or oil leaks coming from the hoses, and around the return filter and this area here. Critical bolts here again, make sure these are tight. Critical bolts around your slew area, again making sure they're tight and no leaks from these hoses or damage here. Just check around your boom cylinders, make sure there's no leaks, your lights are not broken or cracked and are working, no damage or anything down the boom. You come to your rear set of wheels, wheel nut indicators, make sure they're aligned and tightened. No damage to your wheel rim, again no damage to your tyre or your tyre tread is legal. Make sure your mud guards and mud flaps are secure. Checking this rear leg, again decals, critical bolts, beacon on top, and oil leaks or any damage to the foot. You have a boom switch here. This should be tied down before leaving the yard, and make sure there is no damage to this switch. You'll have a cone holder here, so if you're carrying cones, they should be secure in this way, and there will also be some wheel chocks inside this cupboard here. Make sure you have 2 wheel chocks, 2 in this cupboard, 2 in the next side cupboard to put each side of your wheel. Check your bucket for damage, no damage, broken cases or leaking hoses. This is where your battery goes. We'll talk about replacing batteries, changing flat batteries later on in the video. Check security, and you have 2 number of stabilizer pads. You'll use these on every setup. Go around the corner here, checking this corner for no damage. Lights are working, etc. Reversing camera. All the decals on the back of your bucket, must be able to read them, and they must display the correct information. You have a CDD here. Make sure this is all secure and it hasn't been deployed. Earthing point, decal, rear lights, again no damage. Working around this side. Stabilizer pads, 2 of, and secure. Again inside here there'll be a pair of wheel chocks. Checking the damage around this beacon, decals, critical bolts around the leg, no hose, no oil leaks, no damage to the leg, security of bucket access. You'll see on there is your charge line to your bucket battery. Make sure there's no damage to that. That is secured into the bucket for charging while you're traveling to your job. Security of your toolboxes, and make sure they're closed. Rear wheel, again, tyre, rim, wheel nut indicators. Mud guards, security again. Handrail security, no damage going up your stairs. This is your main control panel. We'll go through all the function of this later in the video. You have your spare battery here, security of your spare battery. This is your emergency pump, security of your emergency pump, no oil leaks, any damage or oil leaks inside this area here. You can also see your oil level from this side as well. This is your suction filter. Make sure there is no oil leaks and the tap is fully open. I'll explain all your operations on here, but a quick check. Emergency stop, press in, make sure it releases. Joystick, make sure all the functions return back to the neutral position. Your key switch, make sure they lock in. And you have switches here, should spring back down to off. Again with the emergency pump. You have a switch here which will return back to the neutral position, dead man switch for boom and for outriggers. Hour meter, inclinometer, make sure that is set correctly. Your leg levers here, again, make sure they return back to the neutral position. The decal for those is on this side, so you can read it. We've got a decal for your emergency controls, which I'll go through later on in the video. And another decal here. We're going to check your beacons on your leg. Your decal down here, critical bolts, any oil leaks or damage. And then underneath here you have your isolator switch, and you've got your pump with your hoses. Make sure there's no leaks from your pumps. Any puddles of oil underneath the PTO indicates there's a leak. Check your battery levels. When checking batteries, you should always wear safety glasses and gloves, but you should see there should be no damage to the battery, and you should see electrolysis fluid level inside the batteries. Critical bolts, again at the front of the chassis here. Come around to your front wheel, we're looking at the tyre again, condition of your rim, wheel nut indicators. Checking your mirrors, walking around the front, you've got two flashing beacons on front of your vehicle. Just make sure they're not damaged or broken in any way. Nice clear screen. That is your pre-check done. Okay, we'll do a pre-check around the bucket controls before leaving the yard. You've got two harness points here. Make sure these are certified and in date, and there's no damage to each of the lanyards. These ones are brand new, so they're good. You've got some decals inside here. Make sure you can read all these. There's some instructions here which need to be reread, so make sure they're eligible. Then we go over to your controls. You have your main power for your bucket, auto and manual. Always have this switched on. Apart from when you're changing a battery, you can switch it off. Your manual position off here is when your battery starts getting down, which is indicated on these lights here. You put it down to manual, so you could drop the boom down and change the battery. This is what we'll be showing later in the video. So just make sure this switch is working. You have your power light there. Come on when the PTO is engaged and this is powered up. You have your start stop switch. Make sure that goes back to the neutral position. Emergency stop, press and release. Emergency pump, that should spring back to the off position. and then you have your low RPMs, which should lock in, and your control lock, which actually switches off the operations of all the joysticks when you're doing something where you don't want the movement of the bucket by joysticks. Okay, and then you have your auto folding, which is a dead man switch to raise, hold to auto folding, should spring back, and then same with bucket tilting. You need to hold this, do your bucket tilting with your joystick here, and that should spring back also. You have a tool switch, which is either on or off, dead man switch as well. Make sure this is in the off position when not using the tools. The buzzer to ask for assistance from someone down on the ground. This will sound a buzzer on the ground. Should go back to your off position, and then you have a light on and off for your controls while working at night. Have a check around the joystick rubbers, make sure they're not split, and make sure your joystick returns to the neutral position. The dead man on here is press down, so press down, activate, press down, activate. Your main joystick for your bucket controls, slew, raise, lower, extension and retraction, should return back to its neutral position. Check the boot on this to make sure there's no splits. Dead man is in the middle. All operations need a dead man before they operate, and make sure your slew returns back to the neutral position as well. Make sure the decals, you can read all the decals, there's no damage or holes in the decals, as there is a computer underneath this lot. And this is your bucket controls. I'm now going to show you the correct way to set up your machine. So apply the handbrake, handbrake's on, should be in park. The ignition is on. I'll start the machine up, and you'll see the smart truck system here. Press to activate the screen, and then turn the PTO on. You'll see now the engine mode is active, so we can now, PTO is engaged. I can now set my machine up. Now to set the legs, you'll come to see this screen here. It's telling you to check the status of the boom tie down strap. Now the boom tie down strap has to be on before you set the outriggers. If that is left undone, the outriggers will not go down. You can, if you want to switch this off, you can put it in the off position. It shows this screen here. I'll go for this screen later. I'll just show you how to put the legs down. And this has got to be set up with a roll angle of less than 1 degree and a pitch angle of relatively the same, so as level as possible. Okay, so to activate the legs, you're going to use the dead man switch for the outriggers. Again, it doesn't matter which position this key is in, it just switches off that warning if it's in the off position. So I go down on my outriggers, and you can put the front one, these are for the front, tells you here to extend or retract. So if I push down this way, this leg should come down. I'll just get it so it's touching. The opposite leg will come down on the other side, just get that touching. Go to the rears. And then go to the driver's side rear. All legs will be touching now, but now I have to make sure it is less than 1 degree. So it's showing me my pitch angle is -1, so I'm going to raise up the front of my truck. Get it as near as 0 as I can. And if I look at my roll angle is a little bit too high, so I'm just going to do my roll angle. I'll try these two and get this as nearly 0 as you can. So that's your roll angle. Pitch angle has moved a little bit, but that should still work in this position. Every time you set up, you're going to use stabilizer pads, and you will actually chop your wheels. So now I can raise my boom. If I was going to do a pre-check from the yard, I'd use the lower controls. I'll do an explanation of the lower controls. It's telling me here that my boom strap is still tied, so I will not be able to raise the boom until I release the boom strap. Okay, so I'll go around there now and release the boom strap, and then I'll talk about the screen. There is an engine stop-start on the side here, so let's cut this noise out and then so I can talk to you. So once you have your outriggers set up, you can now release the switch. The switch will fall down. Undo this side is easiest. Move it over here, get that out of the way. You'll see all your lights should be flashing. You have rear flashes on the back here as well. Again, come on with the PTO. Okay, let's do a quick explanation of all these controls. On this dash here, this is your main screen. It's an information screen. You'll see this little fella here is your vehicle with the front headlights. All your legs are down. Well, we have one which isn't down, which won't allow me to lift the boom, so I need to push this leg down. I've got a pitch angle. I've got a boom stowed angle, which is a -19, which means it's in a stow rest, and a swing angle again, which is on a stow rest of -10. This screen here tells me my boom length. Again, it's fully retracted, and it tells me the percentage of it as well. It's not isolated at the moment because it's not extended. It shows me my work height, my work radius, and then these ones here show me the pressure of the lower system, the upper system, and the bucket system. Also shows me the condition of your spare battery, which is located just around the side here, and your bucket battery, which we'll do a change on that later on in the video. You can then have some other screens. This one is F1. F2 shows you the error code here, so just have a look at these, make sure these are all normal. Same with F3, tells you everything is okay. The red ones, they're still okay. It's telling me the bucket counter clockwise is on, the bucket stopper is also on. And then you have a further screen here, which tells me my bucket charger, spare charger, and your bucket battery voltage. And then back to your home screen, or if you don't press it, then it goes back to automatically. This is your panel, so that shows you your off, your switch there, and that one shows you I'm now in bucket controls, and that's the switch which normally be in this position because you'll usually set your legs up, go straight to the bucket, undo the boom switch, remove the charging harness for the bucket battery, and then raise yourself up in the bucket. If I put it back on panel here, you have an emergency pump. How this emergency pump works is you'll lift that up, you'll do a boom, hold the boom up or the outriggers, and it's not working at the moment because I've still got the boom strapped down, and then you'll do a function. So if I was to do a boom, for example, I'd do this, hold the function to raise up, and then it will operate. So with your emergency pump operation, if I wanted to raise the boom, for example, the emergency pump is here. So I'd raise that up. It won't work until I do a function. I have to do a dead man switch of the boom, and then I was going to do the boom raise right here, and then it will raise the boom. The reason the boom's not raising at the moment is because my charge cable is in. I'll just remove this real quickly and just show you that again. With this connected, it will not allow you to raise a boom when you're in the bucket. It's a safety device really to stop you ripping the charge cord out. So if I now go back to my emergency pump, my boom override, and do boom raise. We have operation. This should be tested every day, either from the bucket or the lower controls, just to make sure everything works. And you should also fly it from here to make sure things work as well, which we'll do now. So I'm going to start it up. Again, when you're doing the operations from here, make sure your panel key is on panel. Your dead man switch, you hold that up. Joystick, raise it up, to extend it, to rotate it, all the while holding the dead man up. And you can even do your bucket controls from here. So your reserve switch here is for operating your bucket, and you'll see by here you've got bucket counterclockwise and bucket controls clockwise. You hold these two up, and then when you're before you leave the yard, it's always recommended that you do a pre-check. You're listening for unusual noises, you're looking for oil leaks, unusual movements. As long as everything's okay, then it's good to just set the truck back up again, close everything up, raise the outriggers, pick up all your stabilizer pads and go out on site, and you know you're going to be good to go. So we'll just pack this up right now. So if we've got an incapacitated operator, or there's something wrong with the controls up the top there and he can't get himself down, the guy on the bottom here can override those controls and get him down safely. So I'll show you the procedure of doing that. First of all, we're going to start the vehicle up. So we've got a stop start here. I'm going to move this operation selection from bucket, which he's been using, to my lower panel here. It's now on panel, and you'll see here it's on the panel switch here. So now I have full control. So what I'm going to do, he might be in some trouble, so I'm not going to put it back on the boom rest. I'm going to drop him down so I can see and rescue him from the ground. Use my dead man switch on my boom to override. Just retract the boom in, and I'll start bringing them down. This joystick is a multi-function joystick. It's all proportional. It's small movements, and I should be able to do two functions at the same time, just bringing them gently down to the ground. I can just extend him out a little bit just so I can get him right down to the ground. You can also do the same operation. If the engine was stopped, we can also do that exact same in operation with the emergency pump as well. The emergency pump, the engine would not be running, and I'd just be doing the boom dead man switch, the emergency pump switch, and again a function, which I showed you earlier on in the video. Let's go and check, make sure he's okay. We can tilt the bucket. If we have an incapacitated operator in here, we can actually tilt the bucket from the bucket controls here itself. So we can talk to the guy, reassure him, and then do everything from here. So I'll start the machine up with the start button here. We go over to the bucket tilt button, and we always activate this before we do the bucket joystick. So we'd hold that one, dead man again, so pick it up, push it down to the bucket tilting, and now I want to tilt the bucket over this way, so I'm going to push the joystick that way, and then I can gradually tilt the bucket, just making sure it's not going to hit the ground. And I can tilt this all the way over, or as far as I need to either get the operator out, or take the liner out, or clean the bucket out. So this will go all the way over. If I have water in here, we can tip that and empty all the water out as well. So that's a bucket tilting. After you've finished cleaning out the bucket, or removing and replacing the liner, or retracting the operator, you can then put it back into the upright position. Again, you'll hold the bucket tilting switch over and press the dead man in and go in the opposite direction. and this will raise your bucket back up. You must have this at horizontal as you possibly can get it. There's also a joystick operation from the ground controls. It's hidden away in a cupboard, which will go, and I'll show you that next. So get it as level as possible. It should be around about there. Beautiful. Now I'm going to show you correct operations from the bucket, and we'll also do an auto stow while I'm up there. On the lower panel, just ensure that your operation select is switched to your bucket. We can start it up from here, or I can start it up from the bucket. I'm going to choose to start it up from the bucket this time. Make sure you have your harness on, hard hat, hard boots, gloves if you require them, company policy, PPE. We'll just get in the bucket and we'll do some. Okay, let's do some flying from the bucket. So first of all, make sure your power's on. I can see my battery level is good. It's showing me 2 red lights. If it's down to 1 light, we've changed the battery before flying. I'll show you the procedure of that later. Power's on. It's in the stowed position. So I've checked all my joysticks and my switches to make sure they're okay on the pre-check. So let's go for a fly. Start the machine. Got a dead man switch in here, and I'm going to raise the joystick. The joystick is a multi-function joystick, and it's proportional, so small movements will do small operations of the boom. We're away. See, I'm doing a raise, extension and rotation at the moment. I can also put the bucket out as well. With my emergency pump, we can try the emergency pump while I'm up here. So I shall stop the engine. Try my emergency pump. As you see, it's not working until I do a function. So I'll retract the boom by holding my emergency pump, pushing my dead man switch in, and pushing the joystick into retraction. And you can see we're moving now. The emergency pump is activated. As soon as I let go of it, it switches off. That's a quick test on the emergency pump. When you're using the emergency pump, 30 seconds on, let it cool down for 30 seconds, then 30 seconds on again. Emergency stop. If I press that, that will alert the ground crew that there's an error, there's a problem, I have a problem, and they'll come to my attention. It's always best not to stop your machine with this. Use the engine stop button because they don't know if you're actually in trouble or you've just stopped the machine. You also have a control lock. If I switch this control lock on, I can start the engine, but I can make no movements with the joysticks because it has now locked all my controls off. This is a safety switch, just in case you're working on something and it falls on the joystick, trying to make the boom move. It's also got a low RPM switch. You put this in the low RPM, so when you're doing a boom operation, it just stays in the low RPM of the engine, so operations are slower. We've discussed the bucket tilting. We also have an auto fold, which I shall do now. So with your auto fold, you don't have to touch any other of your joysticks, and we recommend you use this all the time for auto stowing, so it gets back on the boom rest correctly. So I'll hold this dead man up and put it in the up position. You have to have your boom above the horizontal before this to work, so it doesn't have any collision with the toolboxes or handrails, etc. It's retracted the boom. It's now rotating back to the home position, and then it will start to lower the boom down. If you think you're going to hit something, you can let go of this lever. All operations will stop. As soon as it's down to the about a metre off this rest, it brings the bucket in. When the bucket's in the correct place, it will then continue right down to the boom rest. And this is your auto stow function. Just going to show you now a retrieval operation. If your joystick down here is not working, you have a guy who's up in the top there who can't get down, so you need to bring him down from here. There is a procedure which you can do using the manual levers to bring him down. So what you need this key. This key is on your key ring or in your truck somewhere. You're going to unlock this, pull this open. Inside here, you'll see the manual levers for the boom. So you'll also see a spare lever here, which I'm going to unscrew now. And as you can see, my boom is up in the air. So all I want to do is I just want to lower him down. There's decals on the side here. The bottom one is for extend, retract, raise, lower, slew, and this top one here is your bucket tilting, your manual bucket tilting. So I'm going to go raise, lower, so I'm just going to insert this in. Then what I can do is I come round to this panel here, and on the boom side here, if you look here, it's got it in neutral. If I hold this up for over 8 seconds, you'll see this go from neutral to upper. Now on upper, I can let go of this. This doesn't work. We're going to pretend this doesn't work. So now I can come around to this lever. This is all activated now, and I can start to lower my boom. I can do any function I'd like. I just have to remove this joystick here into the relevant function which I want to move. And that is how you do a recovery. To get back off this upper, just go back to your dead man switch. Just push it down briefly to your outriggers, and it goes back into your neutral position. Okay, if we've got a worst case scenario where we've lost everything, we've lost all the power to here, we've still got a battery. We must have a battery, so we must have power, but we've lost the ignition, we've lost all the power here, we've got a guy stuck up in the air. How do we recover him? We go around to this panel. We can use these control levers again. Above here there is a switch. This switch here, I'll switch on. That gives me power from my battery to my emergency pump. Nothing's going to work at the moment because I need to override some valves. So if you follow me around the other side, I'll show you what you have to do. If you see this decal here is telling you about the operation we were just about to do. You've got a valve underneath here. You've got a lower fixation, which means your legs, your jacks, and then you've got your upper fixation, which basically means your boom. We're going to bring the boom down. The override switch here is the one I've just activated in that cupboard. So look for this solenoid, which is this one right here. I'm going to reach over here and I'm going to push this little knob in there and twist it until it locks, and it's only about a quarter of a turn. So now that's locked in. So I'm going to have hydraulic fluid running to my upper functions when I activate the emergency pump. So I'm going to lower my boom again using this function. So I'm going to hold the lever this position, and now I'm going to activate my emergency pump. The boom should come down. "30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, unless it's an emergency, and then you use it all the time." So now my boom is down. I can now go back round and release the valve and start retracting my outriggers. It's exactly the same operation for your outriggers, apart from you're going to use the opposite side of the valve. So you release this side, then you push in, if I can get to it, this side. So that's pushed in and locked. You'll use these outriggers here, one at a time is best. We'll do this one, which is your front left, and I'll retract this one. You won't have to put the switch on the boom. It's always good practice to put it on, because now just this way we're just overriding the system. So I can put this on retract, activate the pump, and you can do that to all 4 outriggers. When you've finished, what you'll do is you'll go around to your valve, and then you will pull out your valve, make sure it's in the neutral position, and then switch this switch back off. And that is your emergency retrieval. In the event of a flat bucket battery, we'll go through the process and I'll show you how to change the battery, which is located behind this panel. They give you a toolbox which comes with a vehicle, so just find the toolbox, which should be in this compartment here, and here it is. So what we'll do, we get the tools out of here. This comes with a set of tools just to do some slight bit of maintenance. It's got a roll of spanners. I've got your ratchet. We've got a 10mm 12-point socket, some pliers, adjustable screwdriver, and the one we're after is a 13mm 12-point socket. So we're going to remove these bolts, 4 of them. They don't need to be done up really tight. Just loosen them off. Remove this panel here, and you'll see inside there is your bucket battery. So the power to the bucket has been switched off. Remove this wing nut up here, and this lever. Turn around and come out one way or another. There we go. And then there's a connection here which needs disconnecting. Thus, and then slide out your battery. Okay, so with your flat battery, you're going to return back to the front of the truck where the spare battery is kept, and we're just going to exchange these over. So this is your spare battery. This has been on trickle charge with the truck running, so it should be fully charged and ready to go. Again, remove the wing nut, remove the lever, unclip the clip here, and then again this should slide out. Oh, this one's a bit tighter. There we go. So this is going to be my new battery. I just replaced this one back in there, so it starts charging for the next time. And clip it in. Make sure it's nice and secure before driving away. Thus, and then we'll put this one back into the bucket. So just raise it up. You can do this obviously with the bucket on the ground. Slide that back in. Get your connection. Put it into the connection here. This is a handy connection. It avoids taking the 12-point socket out of the the terminals off and mistakenly put them on the wrong one. You then put the battery holder back in with the wing nut, ensuring this is nice and tight, and then connect your cover. Just a little nip up. Don't do them up really tight because they can lose all the little 12 points on the plastic bolt there, and then they're very hard to undo. Put all these back nice and tidy. Back into the toolbox, and that is your battery changed. All done. So when you've finished operations, what you want to ensure that you do is plug the battery cable, charge cable, back into the bucket. So when you're traveling, you know your bucket's getting a charge for your next operation. So this is a charge plug. It will usually sit in there for just for safety when you're using the bucket. You'll plug it back into your bucket. You'll hear a small beep to say that it's been connected and now your battery is being charged. What you can also do while you're up here, because your next operation is going to be to raise your outriggers, so we can pull this across here, reconnect that, tighten this down so this switch is activated. It doesn't have to be really tight, it just needs to be activated here to enable me to raise the outriggers. Going to add the outriggers, I don't really need to change the controls. All I need here is dead man on outriggers, then I should be able to raise my outriggers. That is your machine packed away. We can now follow up this procedure with a post check of the machine, making sure we've picked up all the stabilizer pads, any tools that you've used, etc., and having a check around the vehicle for any damage or leaks, which I'm now going to do. Okay, on completion of on your day's work, we're going to do a post check now. So we're going to walk around the vehicle. We're just going to check everything is okay. As we're packing up all our tools and everything that we've used, so stabilizer pads, wheel chocks, etc. I'll start around the front wheel. I see there's no damage or anything done to the wheel while I've been working. Tire inflation looks good. Wheel nuts are still all aligned. Battery, no damage to the battery. Just checking quickly around the leg. No oil leaks. I'll pick up my stabilizer pads. I've got no oil leak underneath the PTO pump. All my levers are fine, no damage here. Quick look around the boom, there's no damage. All my instruments here were working fine during the operation. There's no oil leak. The oil level is still good. Just walking around here, no damage to my handrail or entry steps to the deck. Collect my stabilizer pads and secure these. Checking the rear wheel now. No, everything is inflated. Front tyre and the rear tyre wheel nuts are fine. No damage to the wheel rim itself. Bucket, I didn't hit anything today. Fine, my bucket hasn't been damaged. No marks on the bucket. No rear damage to my vehicle. Oil leaks around here is fine. I've changed the battery earlier, so I know all this is tight. Stabilizer pad. Let's put that back in its holder. Haven't used any cones. This is all nice and tight. I've raised my leg so I know this is all secure. No damage around that leg. All leaks. All my bolts are secure, my critical bolts. Check around my front and inner and outer tyre again. Pressures are good. Wheel nut indicators are aligned. No damage to my wheel rim. My deck is lovely and clear. Everything I've used has been put away in its proper place. No oil leaks around this area. If I've done any overrides, I've checked my valving in here. Make sure it's been put back into the neutral position. Just pick up the stabilizer pad. Lock this away. This front leg, beacon's working fine. All my critical bolts are good, aligned. No oil leaks. My jacks have all been fully retracted. Critical bolts there are good. Sign cage is good. Happy with this. Front wheel, finish off on our front wheel here. Wheel nut indicators are good. Tyre pressure looks good. No damage to my tyres. Around the front of my vehicle, all my lights are in good condition. No damage to the screen, bumpers. I'm ready to leave site and go back to base.